And on that note, Xavier, what else you got?
Give me the skin.
I'm really trying to figure out which one I want to talk about because, okay, because I'm pulling reference pages because I want to what do I want to do? I think I want to. Let's talk about Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh,
Skinwalker Ranch.
I am not well versed, but I've looked into this.
Well, I am. I love that story.
Growing up on the res, if I hear Skinwalker, it changes the pH of the room. I'm just like, oh, nope.
Chills.
It's terrifying.
You can't see it on this HDR camera. But
His hair is raised.
Yeah, it freaks me out. Just talking about it.
So for those of you who know, Skinwalkers are, well, how can I describe this? They're very spooky things. We won't get super into it. But anyway, they're not good. So anyway, the whole idea is there was this family back in the 90s where there was this big ranch. And let me see if I can pull the details. But basically, they found this property which was a great big farmhouse on a lot of acres of land for an incredibly low price. It would be absurd to sell this value of a property for this much small of amount. And they went to their, real estate agent and was like, yeah, we can get this. And they took it, they bought it. And when they got there, they noticed some things that were a little off. Just things were... Yes, a miss. And so when we got to their... Oh, it's in Utah.
God, not ready.
Mm-hmm. I'm out.
So then the Utah ranch... they would walk in through the house and they would see... They would have sliding doors in between segments of the house and stuff, right? Hey, we want to close this off the living room. But a weird thing they would notice, there were locks on either side of it. And so that was a very peculiar thing. It's why would you want to almost like a padlock, why would you want to lock the rooms these ways and stuff? And they would see so that was just an odd thing about it. And so it just gets weirder and weirder. There's one moment where they're moving in a lot of expensive cattle, and they notice, so they have their cattle, they move them in, right? And then the family's just kind of on their property, and they notice there's a huge wolf. It's the biggest they've seen. Wolves are huge already.
Yeah, wolves are freaking big.
Yeah, if you haven't, look it up a size comparison. They're huge. And so this thing was ginormous for a wolf. And it was oddly friendly. It almost approached them like if it was a dog. And they were out by their cattle too. And they were right by a baby calf. And there's oh, it seems friendly. Even the kids, the kid came out and stuff to see, and nothing was amiss. And all of a sudden, it snapped and just put the calf's head in its mouth and was trying to get at it. And they rushed, tried to get their gun and stuff, and they took good shots in that thing too. And it was just not letting go. And then on its own, just let go and walked away like nothing. Even though they had just with the shotgun ran right into it, it just didn't care. I was okay, I'm done now, bye. So the whole thing was just very odd. And at night they would see lights with no explanation. They had no idea what was going on. Strange noises. They would find their cattle dead or mutilated later in the day, and they were losing money on this. They invested a lot, and it's just what's going on? Yeah. They would walk around, they see these strange creatures sometimes. I don't know what this is. They would have their binoculars out patrolling. It's I see something walking out there. Yeah. And I don't know what this is, but it's humanoid kind of, and it's very odd. And they finally couldn't handle it anymore, and so they decided to sell it. But then this really rich guy, I think his name was Robert Bigelow. He was a very wealthy businessman, and he was always into the very odd and strange occult, and wanted to use science to prove the very mysterious and supernatural things in the world. And so he said, from the stories I've heard, from the stories of the past and stuff from this property and what this family's telling me now, I'm going to hire an entire research team, and I'm going to figure something out, because I want to show that there's something going on.
Yeah.
And so he bought the property, and the father who had lived there, he's like, you know what, I'm going to stay on for a little bit, for a year, and just be with you so I can show you around, the property, get used to it, how it runs and everything, and just like help you and explain to you, like, this is what we've been seeing, this is what it is. And so the scientists would see the same things too, and they would put out like cameras and monitors and stuff, and they would catch maybe just something, but then the camera would be broken the next day, or wouldn't be operational anymore. Or they would still find the same things, like we see, like dead animals. Here was an odd thing too. They had, I think this was right before they had, I'm gonna backpedal a little bit, right before they had sold the property to Robert, and they heard their dogs started freaking out. They had 3 dogs. They were barking, and something was out there in the night, and they're like, no, hold back, don't let go. And then they got off their leashes and they just ran off, and they heard them barking, going after something, and then sort of like a squeal, like a cry from the dogs, and then they didn't hear anything, and they couldn't find them. And not until I think it was a few days later, they went out walking, and they found just like these 3 piles of just, they knew it was the dogs, but it wasn't like the dogs anymore. Like it was just, so it's like, we know this is them, but it's just
mutilated.
And so it's just this disaster after disaster for them all. And so then, obviously they sold it to the investor, Robert. And during his whole time too, again, like I was saying, they just would witness these things too, but it was so improbable for them to collect the data, because it was like, this thing's going off, or this isn't working, or, we're not, it's almost like everything's being avoidant of where we're putting the things at and stuff. And so... Or it wouldn't happen enough. Like it would, so one person would see it, and then everyone else wouldn't see it when they would go to observe it. And so at the end of like the year, it's like, we don't have anything to show for it. Even though we've witnessed some things and we've seen a lot of stuff, we don't have something to pull out at the end of it. So I think he ended up selling the property off or something. But there's a lot of great stories that go into more detail about it, people who visit there now and stuff. And so it's an insane thing. So that's a little story time right there.
It's always so spooky when you on a like random little side note to pick out that random,
so random and crazy.
Throwback to an old episode. It's unnerving when you hear about animal attacks and the like predatory animal in question doesn't eat the other one, because like if a dog attacks like a big animal, usually it'll just kill the dog. Because that's just like a natural nature thing. Because like usually predatory animals are not just like malicious or like vindictive. They'll just kill something to eat it. So they'll kill something then eat it. So it's always concerning when you find something in nature where it just purely mutilated something. Like didn't eat any of it.
And why is it always that too? Like that happens with a lot of alien stories, the mutilated bodies of cows or dogs.
It's just the grotesqueness of it, I guess.
I mean, obviously, if you saw that happened to your animal, it's this like unexplainable thing, that'd be scary,
unnerving.
But that tends to happen in a lot of these things. Is like it almost feels like a morbid curiosity took place. Someone's like, "What if I just take this thing apart or turn it inside out?" It's so strange. Like I can't understand that.